Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to True Gunners TV. We're back again with another video, another match reaction, and of course, the new segment is here. What is happening at the Arsenal Circus today? And I'm joined by a special guest who I have not seen in so long, and it's going to be so great today to catch up with him once again. African Gooner, mate, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Brandon. Thanks for having me back on the channel. As you said, yeah, super excited to chat about Arsenal and catch up and see where your mind's at, where my mind's at. I think definitely a lot of things that we have in common, and also a couple of things that that we differ on. But of course, as long as it's always respectful, I mean, that's all. That's what it's all about. So yeah, looking forward to chatting about it.
100%, mate. 100%. As I said, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Arsenal. It's been a long time. It's been, what, 9 months since we last did a video together. So, you know, I don't really know where your head's at. I'm sure a lot of people know where my head's at because I've, of course, been doing plenty of content, not just on this channel, but on other channels as well. I'm sure you know where mine is, but it's going to be interesting to hear where your head is at. So let's move into the segment. What is happening at the Arsenal Circus today? There we go. That is what is happening at the Arsenal Circus today. And let's just start one place. 24 days into a transfer window, we've allowed players to leave, and we have still yet to see a player sign for Arsenal. Edu is missing. Nobody knows where this guy is. He is like, where's Wally? You know, like them old comic books you used to get as a kid, and you have to find Wally. Where is Edu? Where is Edu? African Gooner, where is he?
Well, I know he was definitely at the Emirates over the weekend because I saw a little bit of footage when I was watching the game, obviously, that he was in the stadium. But I mean, apart from that, he's definitely just out going to barbecues. I mean, I can't think of anything else that he's really doing because it's the same old, same old. I mean, as you said, I think I have a little bit of mixed feelings on this one because I think the 5 signings that we had in the summer were really good. So I had a little bit of confidence and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to be too critical because they did good. They did good during the summer. So for me, it was like, okay, let's see what they can do. Let's see what they can pull out of their sleeve this time. And I think as each day keeps passing, I get more and more nervous. And now, I mean, with the results, it's past nervous. It's just frustration. And I'm just upset, right? Because again, we've lacked planning, we've lacked strategy, mismanagement. I mean, how do you send out Ainsley Maitland-Niles, regardless of the fact that people are saying that it was he wanted to leave, etc. Who gives a crap? Honestly, I don't give a crap. He's our player. We get to decide what we want to do with him. So I think that's a bull crap excuse for me, honestly. If we knew we were going to be in this situation, we had no backup plan of bringing in a midfielder, we definitely shouldn't have let him go. If it was the case that like eventually we were, maybe we could have, but at least at the last few days of the window, we should have used them for all these games that obviously we had no midfielder. I mean, Lokonga playing as a lone midfielder has just completely killed our season. And I don't blame it on Lokonga. I blame that on Edu and Arteta because they are in charge of the club. It's not Lokonga's fault. He's being asked to play and he's trying his best. And it's not expected for him to carry the team, just like Saka and Smith Rowe and some of our other youngsters have carried us. So for me, again, shambolic. I know there's a couple of days, but I mean, we've pretty much screwed up already. We're out of the 2 competitions, knockout competitions that we were in, and we've lost ground in the race for the top 4. I know people are saying, oh, it's top 4 is not over. We're only 2 points behind. We have a game in hand. But like, what really frustrates me, Brandon, is like, I've been an Arsenal fan for so long, man. Like, you know what was... I knew we weren't going to score against Burnley. Like, from the 40th minute, I already knew that the game was going to be 0-0, or that Burnley was going to score a winner at the end of the game and we were going to lose. There was no way we were ever winning that game. It was the classic, we can't break them down, they're low block. I mean, Brandon, we've had this issue since Ozil. Remember when Freddie came in? We were unable to create. I mean, this is like a problem we've had for over a year. And even when Ozil was in the team, we still needed a world-class midfielder then. So these are, again, issues that are like 2-3 years into this team, into this rebuild, into this process. And like, that's the frustrating part, right? It's so obvious for normal people like me and you, and even non-Arsenal fans to see. So I don't understand why they haven't actioned on it or done anything about it. There's no excuse for that for me. And that's quite disappointing.
100%. I agree with absolutely everything that you just said. And look, we as Arsenal fans knew in the summer that we needed a midfielder. We knew AFCON was happening. They knew AFCON was happening. They knew we was going to be short in that area. They haven't addressed it. They've allowed players to leave the club without bringing in replacements, as you say. But there's also one other position where we are clearly lacking. We've got a striker who has fallen out with the manager. He's been, banished from the team. You've got Lacazette, who don't score goals, and let's be honest, he's never scored 20 goals in a season for Arsenal, so he's not a prolific striker. You've got Eddie Nketiah, who Mikel Arteta seems to love this kid, but he's refusing to sign a contract. So then we got that other position as well, where we are clearly majorly lacking. And there's one player that has been constantly linked to Arsenal throughout this January transfer window, and that is Dossin Vlahovic. Now, one thing I'm going to say about this is news breaking today, and it seems like the wank fest for Dossin Vlahovic may be coming to an end, because it looks like Arsenal, after wasting 24 days chasing this guy, have finally realised that he is not interested in joining the banter club. The agent's causing problems with his fee that he's asking for. Dossin Vlahovic himself, I think he's thinking that he can maybe get a move to a bigger club. What's your take on this whole Dossin Vlahovic thing, mate?
Look, I mean, I've been on the Arsenal lounge over the last 2 weeks, and I've said it from the start that, we were not going to get him. I mean, just purely because I think if he wanted to come, it would have been done already. I mean, that's how I see it, right? You're 21 years old. We've put like an incredible package. I mean, the numbers that I was reading, if true, they were impressive. They were ambitious. So you have to give credit to Arsenal if that was legitimate and we really went and put that money on the table. I'm proud of Arsenal for doing that, because that's kind of what I wanted to see. But in all honesty, from the player's perspective, it was always the case that he was not going to come. There's no guaranteed Europe. I mean, he's looking at this team now completely shambolic, no real midfield to create for him. And he has plenty of other options, right? He can get paid the same amount of wages that we were going to pay him anywhere else. So for me, I mean, it was ambitious. I had maybe like a 5% hope that like it could happen, because it seemed like we were the only ones that could afford him. But in terms of convincing him about the project, it was obvious to me from the beginning that, he didn't want to join. And I even went to the point where I was like, I think he's using his agent as just like cover. I think he doesn't want to come out and say that he's not interested in Arsenal, because it'll ruin his reputation, and he doesn't want to take the fall for that. I mean, that's why he has an agent. So they're claiming that the agent wants all these astronomical fees, etc., etc. It's one of his family members. That's bull crap. Honestly, if he really wanted to come to Arsenal, you're telling me that Edu and Arteta and Josh Kroenke wouldn't be able to organize a meeting with him and say, listen here, you want to come to us? It's an easy solution. Get rid of your agent. We'll help you, pair you up with an agency. You'll still get paid exactly what you're supposed to get paid. Preventing this from happening, we can sort that out, right? And because that didn't happen, for me, it was clear and obvious that there was never any interest. It was just a smokescreen, and he was just using an agent as a fall guy, saying like, "Oh, the agent fees, etc., etc." I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree again. And look, I look at it this way as well, right? Me and you, we both consume a lot of Arsenal content, no doubt. We sit there at night time, both of us watching videos on Arsenal and that. And I remember around about a year ago, Mikel Arteta did a short interview, but it was an interview with Ian Wright. And I remember one thing that Mikel Arteta said in that interview, and that was, if I have to convince a player to sign for Arsenal, then already there's a big problem, because players should want to join this huge football club, with the history and the stature of Arsenal Football Club. I shouldn't have to convince somebody to sign for Arsenal. And if I do, then there's a problem already, because then ultimately the player is just coming for money. He's not coming because he wants to be there. It is pure and simply because of money. So I was quite surprised to hear that Arsenal was still chasing this guy, even though he looked so unconvinced that Arsenal was the place that he wanted to be. And the fact that we have continued to chase this guy 24 days into a transfer window, we now have, 6-7 days left. It's like, why? He made it pretty clear.
Yeah, absolutely. My response to that is expectation versus reality, right? I think that is the expectation Arteta has, but I think the reality is we're desperate, right? So that's why I think in this case, it's like, yeah, that's what we said, but we actually can't even attract those players anymore. So at this point, we have to convince players, regardless of, they don't have 110% commitment, especially I would say in the striker market where there's not many options, right? As well, have to be fair, right? There isn't many options. So I don't know what player really is out there that's available in January that would say, oh, I'm dying to come to Arsenal. I'm not making an excuse for them. I'm just saying, if we're being logical, I think it's out of desperation that we are just trying to get this guy. I think we should have pulled the plug on it a long time ago. If we were smart, I think we would have more leverage if we went and signed a world-class midfielder. So one of the things I said is, okay, he doesn't want to sign, pull the plug on it. Go spend that money on Frankie de Jong. Imagine we signed Frankie de Jong. What Dossin Vlahovic would be thinking? He'd be like, oh, wait, actually, I think I might have made a mistake. These guys are actually ambitious. I would want to play with a player like de Jong. Again, like it's the classic Arsenal, right? You buy world-class players to attract other world-class players and other top talent, right? So there's a lot of different strategies we could have used or implemented, and we've nil point. Not literally, we've done nothing. And now you expect to go and sign someone. I mean, we're going to be held to ransom because it's going to be way too late in the transfer window. They know we're desperate. They're going to say they can't get a replacement. And we're going to have to pay over the odds to get someone that we should have gotten, for half the price or whatever, a discounted price a few weeks ago just because of our bad planning. I mean, that's the frustration, right? We keep losing money. Every player that we bring in, we're losing money. I mean, I was just looking again at Guendouzi, dude, 10 million. We got rid of Guendouzi for 10 million. Even this Leno rumors, by the way, that are just surfacing up with Newcastle, option to buy 10 million, 12 million. Are you serious? We bought this guy for 20 mil, and now you're saying you want to get it's just crazy how we haven't learned from any of our mistakes. And it's not like we've made we've made 15 mistakes that everyone could point out easily, and we're still making the same stupid mistakes. And that's frustrating because as a fan, we have no control or power over these things. And that boils my blood because I think I'm smart enough to see it, and I think other people are smart enough to see it. So why someone that's getting paid crazy amount of money, and I think it's a privilege, right, to work for Arsenal. I mean, as a fan, that's my perspective. It'd be a privilege for me to even work as a social media, whatever it is, anything to do with Arsenal, I'd be privileged because I love my club. And that's not how some of these guys in the hierarchy act, and that's what's frustrating for me.
100%. And just bringing you back to a point that you made previously about anybody who we buy now we're gonna have to pay over the odds for. And there is one player today that is being linked, has been linked majority of January, as a backup to Dossin Vlahovic, and that is Alexander Isak. So don't put away the magic sock just yet, Arsenal fans, because I'm sure you want to keep it out for another overhyped striker, in my opinion. So, what do you make of the Isak rumours? I mean, they're talking about 90 million euros.
Yeah, I think it's 70 million pound release clause. Look, I haven't watched him too much. I only found out about him during the Euros. I think as most people did because he had a good tournament. I think he's only scored 2 goals this season. I know he's been injured, so look, I'm desperate, right? I'm desperate. I mean, we need a striker. So if we're not getting Vlahovic, I mean, we're not gonna get an Mbappe or Haaland. I don't really see like what that next tier striker is. I mean, I know Tammy Abraham is doing really well. I don't know if I ever really wanted him, to be quite honest. So there isn't many options, and if we have to pay over the odds to get him, I'd get him. But I'm fearful of his injury record. I'm fearful that he's not physical enough for the league. And again, like, he's not experienced enough, if we're really being honest. I mean, he's not a proven Champions League player or whatever. He's an upcoming talent. So, but again, I think I'm really desperate. Like, I'm so desperate to sign anyone now that I'm just like, okay, whatever, just bring someone in, you know?
I'll tell you what, right? And people won't have heard my thoughts on this one, so I'm going to give my thoughts on this one. As I said, I think it's another overhyped striker that we're going to end up paying over the odds for if we want. Now, I'm going to give another scenario or solution to Arsenal Football Club here, because in my opinion, I've checked this guy out, right, Isak. I don't know too much about him either. I watched him in the Euros when he was playing for Sweden. I know that, you know, he's doing okay over at Real Sociedad. I also know, though, that this guy did play for Borussia Dortmund, and the types of team like Borussia Dortmund, like Bayern Munich, are usually a good yardstick to measure, you know, what type of players they're looking at and stuff like that. And they allowed this guy to leave. So if he's really that good, would Borussia Dortmund have allowed this guy to leave? Also, I took a look at the stats today and I compared Isak to Aubameyang. Now, the reason why I did this is because if you look at their stats, Isak has played 18 games in the league this season. He scored 4 goals and created 1 assist. Aubameyang has played 14 games this season, scored 4 goals and created 1 assist. Now, for me, we've got a striker on £250,000. He's been dumped out of the team, dumped out of, well, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And for me, that is because of Mikel Arteta's ego and Mikel Arteta's arrogance. Now, I look at this situation and I think, do we go and spend £90 million on a player who, he's young, he's up and coming, and he's doing all right, right? But there's no guarantee that this guy is going to settle into the league straight away and start scoring goals. Or do we bite out the bullet? Do we forget about our ego, Mikel Arteta? Do we push our arrogance to one side and say, look, Aubameyang, you've done this wrong. You've done that wrong. Don't do it again. You're back in the team. We need you to help us get top 4 this season. He's a ready-made goal scorer. I know he's had a poor season this season, but he's a ready-made goal scorer. He doesn't have to have time to settle in the league. He can score goals. And I can guarantee you right now as well, if Aubameyang had them 2 chances that Lacazette had against Burnley the other day, at least one of them's going in the back of the net. I don't know what you think about that, mate. What would your take on that?
So many thoughts, and I'm so happy we're having this conversation because we think quite similarly as well, which is why we get along as well. So, couple of thoughts. The first one is in regards to the point about Isak and Dortmund and them letting him go. I would say that's a bit unfair because we could say that about Kevin De Bruyne and Mo Salah. Look, Chelsea and let them. So sometimes it just happens, and I think he was also quite young, so we don't really, you know what I mean? Like, for example, Serge Gnabry, we didn't know that he was going to become a great player, and we let him go young. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to be fair, saying, okay, maybe that might have been the reason. But it is a good point that you raise. The second point for me would be absolutely. I've said it from the beginning, not to sign a striker. I mean, it's clear and obvious to me that we have enough going forward and we have enough people who can score. The problem is the midfield. We have no control of the midfield, and we'll get to Xhaka later. And you know my feelings on that guy. I mean, to the point where when I do player ratings, I don't even give him a rating because I just don't want to talk about him. I've never hated a player more than that guy. But yeah, so for me, it's the midfield that we need control in. We need someone that is dominant next to Partey, completely, that will create chances. And you know how much I love Martinelli. Forget Lacazette. I mean, I think Martinelli can play striker, and 100%. I don't believe that Aubameyang has been ostracized and exiled from the team just because he was late twice. There's definitely something else that's going on. It's impossible. You can't tell me that this guy's been exiled completely from the team, that he's not even traveling to Dubai. Like, it makes absolutely no sense, right? So a spat must have happened. He must have swore at him. Something else must have happened that we don't know, because it just doesn't make any sense. But 100%, I said this last week on the Arsenal Lounge, have to reintegrate Aubameyang. We have no choice. Like, even if he's not starting, he needs to be on the bench or something. And my point was, he can't be as bad as he has been in the last few months. It's almost impossible for him to be that bad. And he's had a good break. I think he might be re-energized. That motivation. Sometimes when you get pulled out of things, your perspective changes. You become more grateful, because he's a star man. He's his highest paid earner, and then he just gets stripped out of everything, captaincy, team, and I mean, it humbles you, right? Regardless of you're a top athlete or not. So I think it reinvigorates you in terms of a player, especially a top player, that I want to prove myself again. This is how I should be treated, etc., etc. At this point, I don't see it. I don't think we can recover from it. I don't think Aubameyang has the motivation to play for Arsenal anymore. Nor do I think that Arteta has, the ability to put away his ego and reintegrate him back into the team. And we saw this with Ozil as well, right? I mean, we know, Ozil's lazy, he did a lot of things that were not right. He had the wrong culture, wrong attitude, but we were so desperate. We needed to play him, and we didn't play him. And we suffer the consequences because we had no creative midfielders. So again, these are the same issues that we're talking about. It's been 9 months, and it's recurring issues that we just keep talking about. It's like a cycle, and it just gets tiring of talking about it. Same thing with Guendouzi, man. You can't be telling me that we loaned out Guendouzi when we have Lokonga, who apparently we brought in to be a third string player, not even a second string, a third string player, and this guy's starting more games than El Neni, bro. Crazy. But you know what? I'm not even surprised, because I knew that from the moment we signed him, that this kid was going to end up playing crazy amount of minutes, because either Xhaka was going to get a red card, or we just didn't have enough squad depth. It was so obvious from the beginning, right? So yeah, I don't see how Aubameyang comes back into this team, but I totally agree with you, Brandon. I mean, we need him. Lacazette is, I think we ruined Lacazette. I don't think he was ever that top striker. He scored 20 goals in the French league, et cetera, but he was never going to be a 20 goal striker in the Prem. And I think for me, the way Arsenal's been playing with a lack of midfielder and creativity for 2 years, think about it as a striker, dude. For 2 years, you're adapting your game to the team because you can't get the ball, you're not getting enough chances, et cetera, et cetera. Eventually, you lose that instinct, that killer instinct that you have. There was one point where he didn't even shoot, and he passed to Saka, and I'm like, dude, you're a striker, man. You take that shot on every day of the week, and it's just not in his brain anymore, because completely taken out of it. We've played him as a number 10, an attacking midfielder. He's just a link-up player, and I don't think it's fair also to have the expectation of him to be able to run, playing right wing, playing the number 10, holding up. He can't do all that. He's old. Let's be real. He's old. He doesn't have the legs, and the Premier League is at a pace so high. It's unfair to ask of that of the player, right? So yes, he's not good enough, but I also think Arsenal has been part to blame of killing Lacazette.
100%. Before we move on, I've got a bit of a two-part question for you, before we move on from the whole Aubameyang thing, right? First of all, question number one, and I'll ask you both questions, and then I'll let you answer simultaneously. So question number one is, have you been surprised by how, I want to say, how supportive the fan base has been towards Arteta in this situation, and how they've just discarded Aubameyang completely, considering, the guy carried us for ultimately 2 or 3 seasons? Have you been surprised by how the fan base have just gone, oh, Aubameyang turned up late? Oh, I don't ever want him back in the team again. And then the second part of the question as well is, for me, I look at Arteta, and this is why he's not a top manager. Top managers deal with players with egos, and they get the best out of them. Now, there's a number of examples now, Arsenal, Guendouzi, Aubameyang, even Saliba, players that have clearly got egos, that rather than dealing with them in the correct manner, and rather than trying to get the best out of them, he's just discarded them. What would you say to that, mate?
Yeah, the on the first point, I think I have to be fair. I mean, at the point that Arteta made that decision, Aubameyang was he was useless to the team. So I didn't mind him being removed. I didn't want him to be exiled. I mean, I just thought he was gonna have to take a break and sit on the bench for a couple of games and like fix up his, you know what I mean, fix up his mindset. I mean, for me, really even wasn't an attitude problem because there were a couple of games that you saw Aubameyang. He was running his socks off. I mean, he was trying, but I don't think the team suits him. And it's not only now, even last season when we're playing him as left wing, how many times did we say, oh, why are we playing Aubameyang as left wing? We're wasting him out there. So I think over the last 2 seasons, even though, you know, he scored a lot last season, not as much as the season before that, but I mean, I think he's just been out of sorts. This team doesn't suit him. And I think Arteta has been winning. So the fan base is, you know, it's going to be on the manager's side when everything is going right. And then obviously now everything is going wrong. You're like, oh crap, actually we need Aubameyang. Football's very fickle that way, right? I mean, same thing with Ozil, right? I was like completely no, he's a sore loser, he's a bad apple, get rid. We can't score, we can't create for like 5 games. It's like, please bring him back, right? Because our squad depth is so bad, it makes fans so desperate to even like reconsider someone who's been exiled, right? So that's the first part. And what was the second part? Sorry, what was the second question?
The second part was about Mikel Arteta and dealing with players with egos and
Yes,
how
yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the point on that one, man, is like, think about other players that are looking inwards, like top players. Why would any top player want to come to Arsenal when a manager with zero experience, zero pedigree, is treating players like Aubameyang, Pepe, Saliba, Guendouzi, etc., etc.? I mean, as you said, there's so many examples, right? I don't think it's right. I mean, if we were winning all our games and I mean, like, you know what I mean? And we had the squad depth, if everything was rosy at Arsenal, I wouldn't be able to complain. But the fact that we're a roller coaster and we keep going up and down, every time we're downhill, you're going to bring up all these things because it's natural, right? So for me, yeah, dude, too much of an ego. The fact that this guy keeps bringing on Eddie and Nketiah, this guy's trash, bro. He's trash. They're like and it's funny because I actually know on other podcasts, I know some Arsenal fans that are UK based, and they love him because he's a UK he's from our academy, and he's also a British player. So it's just like this inner love for Nketiah, but he's a tap-in merchant, bro. Even tap-ins, he's like well back. He's almost like well back. Like he almost trips over himself to get the ball over the line. I mean, for me, he's absolutely not good enough. He doesn't want to be here anymore. And when's the last time he even scored in the Premier League, man? Like, and you're bringing this guy on like in the 77th minute. I mean, even if you brought him on in the 60th minute, he wasn't going to do anything. And so that is just like, you can see Arteta's really stubborn, right? I mean, he doesn't make substitutions, doesn't want to change his formation, doesn't like. Yeah, he's gonna fall on his own sword. It's funny because I've changed my mind a little bit about Arteta here and there, and I mean, yeah, it always comes back to the same thing. Our team is just not good enough, and he unfortunately, especially if he keeps playing Xhaka and keeping players like Nketiah and Holding and Chambers and Cedric. I mean, this team is never going to progress with things like that. And I understand that it takes time and stuff, but we had plenty of opportunities to get rid of all these guys. We've had plenty of opportunities in these last 24 days to sign someone, and he hasn't. And all these like things pile up. Like, you can't forgive him playing a false nine in the semifinal. I still remember that. I'm not going to forget that, right? So yeah, I think he has a huge ego for me, and that's killing Arsenal in terms of perhaps signing some players that would consider to come, but may fear, like Aubameyang, they're going to get exiled if they do one thing wrong or have a falling out or a disagreement with the coach and manager, and then all of a sudden their career at Arsenal's over. And that's not a good omen for any player that wants to come in.
And just before we move on, because we are going to move on to the match reaction for the appalling game at the weekend, and we kind of touched on it a little bit there, but just real quickly, Emmanuel Adebayor, we all remember this guy. You know, great for Arsenal, signs for Manchester City. We all remember him running the full length of the pitch just to celebrate in front of the Arsenal fans. Probably one of the most hated players by the Arsenal fans now.
Yeah, and then he went to Tottenham too.
And he went to Tottenham as well. And yeah, and he actually came out in an interview today, I think it was, or at some point, and he actually said about the whole Arsenal situation. He said about how Arsene Wenger made him leave the club, and then in a press conference a couple of days later was saying that Adebayor wanted to leave the club for the money, this, that, and the other. And he was asked about the Aubameyang situation as well, and his reply was, "That's just Arsenal. That's typical Arsenal for you." What do you make of
Yeah,
that, mate?
and he also said that he thinks Aubameyang is there's no way back for him in the team. Interesting. I made a comment on Twitter saying I actually don't know how to react to that because like I can't disagree. Like he makes some good points. And if you look at it, think about it. If your employer screws you over like that, of course you're gonna celebrate like that. There's no more loyalty, right? If my employers screwed me over like that, I mean, I'm not saying it was the right manner to do it, but I can understand why he did it. So yeah, I mean, look, institutions like Arsenal can say whatever they want, right? I mean, Wenger was never gonna put Arsenal under the bus. He was always gonna put the player under the bus, and therefore the player is not afraid to come out and say things like that. And I honestly believe him. I've seen Arsene Wenger lie to us saying we're not getting rid of Sanchez, and we get rid of Sanchez. I've seen Arsene Wenger say we're not getting rid of Chamberlain. We play him against Liverpool, and in the same week we sell him to them. I mean, I've never seen stuff like that ever. Like, tell me one team you've ever seen do, and like, it's not only like in our lifetime, and like in the history of the game. When have you seen a manager play a player against a rival team and then sell him to them the same week? Like, it's just absurd. So I've seen Arsenal do some really shady stuff, and I mean, I tend to believe Adebayor more now, especially since I'm older, and when we look back at like Nasri, Fabregas, Van Persie, they all said it, right? No ambition, Arsenal didn't match my expectations, blah, 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 blah. We're always stingy, never wanted to buy other players. I think we also lied to some of our star players saying we were going to sign other star players and we're going to build the team, and we never did. So, yeah, I mean, I can see from his perspective, but you also have to remember they're both African players. I think, are they both from? No, where is he from? No, he's not. He's from.
Adebayor was from Togo.
From Togo, yeah, but they both speak French, right? So they're both French African players. So yeah, no, I hear him honestly, and I believe it as well. He probably did get ostracized and exiled. And yeah, I mean, I also agree with him. I told you, I don't see how Aubameyang. There's no way Aubameyang gets back into this team because Arteta's not going to swallow his pride. And by the way, Brandon, I said this on Twitter yesterday. What team have you ever seen 2 seasons in a row, their top earner exiled from the team, and you don't even and we're paying the wages, dude? Like, bro, we're not a Man City that we can just do this to our top earner and survive. Like, we're not that club. So the fact that we're doing this 2 seasons in a row with Ozil and now Aubameyang, and the funny part is that people predicted this about Aubameyang like a few months ago, that like, it was Ozil situation going to happen. And look where we are now. It's just ironic, honestly, ironic.
It is. You're right. It is ironic. And yeah, as you say, mate, it's like I struggle to see how Aubameyang will come back into this team with Mikel Arteta as manager. But it could cost us top 4 if he doesn't. And is Arteta willing to risk that? I mean,
I don't think it's off him. As I said, Brandon, come on, let's be honest. Yes, okay, Aubameyang can score, but are you telling me Martinelli and Pepe can't score those goals? Come on, we can score those goals. We need a midfielder. For me, it's not the striker. We need another midfielder. Xhaka's going to get another red card. He's going to do something stupid. Partey might get another injury. We know El Neni's not good enough. And Lokonga, again, I'm not being harsh on the kid. It's not expected for him to carry us right now. It was never the expectation for him to come in and start performing already, right? It's going to take him 2-3 years. So for me, a midfielder is the key signing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it brings us nicely into the next part of the show. Of course, we have to react to yesterday's abysmal performance at home to Burnley. And look, we got the game called off against Spurs because of a lack of players, apparently. We went, and then after doing the hard part at Liverpool with 10 men at Anfield and getting the draw, we then confidently go into the game against Liverpool in the semi-final and absolutely get torn a new one. And then, of course, yesterday, everybody's screaming about, oh, it doesn't matter. We're still in with a chance of the top four. The top four is in our hands. And then we go and put in an absolute dross performance like yesterday. And before I get African Gooner's thoughts on this, I'm just going to give mine as well. For me, we started the game very, very slow. And we knew exactly how Burnley was going to come to the Emirates. We knew exactly how Burnley were going to set up because we know exactly how Burnley play. They haven't changed. They have always been the same under Sean Dyche. We know that they were bottom of the Premier League with one win, and that is it this season. And they need points on the board. Now, we know that they're going to be a tough team to break down. So, anybody who's played football at a decent level, anybody who has managed football at a decent level knows that when a team throws 10 men behind the ball, in order to break them down, you have to move the ball quickly. Arsenal, we wasted an entire first half being slow, lethargic, doing absolutely nothing with the ball. Second half, Burnley come out, we start on the back foot. Then we have a 10-15 minute spell where we are moving the ball quickly. We're starting to create a few chances. We're starting to have a few shots on goal. And there's one player in particular that I point out that I thought instigated all of that. He showed the extra energy. He showed the extra quality that was needed. And that's Emil Smith-Rowe. And then this manager, this clueless clown of a manager, takes him off for Eddie Nketiah, a guy who does not want to be at Arsenal, a guy who is not good enough, and a guy who does not score goals, being the one main thing. And then we start throwing crosses into the box against a tall Burnley team. Like
33 crosses, actually, to be exact.
Lacazette as well. This guy, I mean, don't get me wrong, he holds the ball up well. He brings other players into play well. But like you said earlier on in the show, African Gooner, his killer instinct in front of goal is just gone. Like there was two chances there, which a top class striker or even a top striker would be putting in the back of the net. And to me, it just rounds off Arsenal Football Club. I mean, we see it on the football terrace a few weeks ago. Egal was getting a bit big for his boots, talking about, come outside, Tottenham fans, well, you're not going to catch us. And then Arsenal do the typical thing and capitulate. But the thing that annoys me the most is we've seen this for so many years now, African Gooner. We've seen it so many years. When the pressure is on Arsenal, and it was because Manchester United just won their game, and you need to pick up the 3 points. We always fail to do so. We fail to capitalise on other teams' fuck-ups as well. And that is the thing that annoys me the most. But for me, a lot of the blame has to lie at the manager's door. Because again, we go back to the transfer window. Why have we not got players in? Number one. Why are we running Saka, Smith-Rowe and that into the ground? They looked absolutely out on their feet yesterday. And then number two, why is he not motivating these players? Surely before the game, he should be saying to them, you need to move the ball quickly. We know that they're going to put 10 men behind the ball. You have to move the ball quickly in order to break them down. Don't throw crosses in the box. Just have pot shots if you need to from the edge of the area. You never know. It might catch a lucky deflection or whatever. But whatever you do, do not throw crosses in the box when we don't have a player who can put them crosses away. And a lot of the blame for me lies at the manager's door. Like I said, he took off our most dangerous player in that second half and brought on Eddie Nketiah. That is where Mikel Arteta is failing. What's your thoughts on the game, mate?
So many thoughts, but I mean, firstly, 100% agree it's on the manager, right? This is the manager's responsibility to get the team energized. And it's not only this game, even the Liverpool game, that didn't look like a semi-final to me. It didn't look like we wanted to win that game at all. And we've seen against Tottenham and some other games that we've pressed teams to death. We've been incredible. We've forced teams to just kick the ball out because they just don't know what to do with it, or kick it straight back to us, and then we recycle and we start our attack over and over again. So we clearly can do it. So why can we do it some games and in other games we can't, right? It can't just be because we're missing a few players. I mean, if Arteta is the manager that needs exactly the same 11 players every single game, then he's not the manager for us, because we're never going to win anything if that's the way like we need to move forward, right? So yeah, I mean, first of all, for me, I don't know why Holding played. I was quite disappointed. I think Ben White should have stayed with Gabriel, and Chambers should have played at right back. Chambers would have overlapped with Saka. You could tell. I mean, not only was Saka and Martinelli leggy, but I mean, Saka is just, I don't know, something's been off with him recently. Just, I mean, his take-ons, he's not beating players as much. His decision-making to shoot sometimes, there's like 3 players in front of him and he's trying to shoot it through the guy's legs instead of making the pass to someone else who would have a better chance of shooting. I don't know if it's this expectation on his shoulders. You know, I don't know if you saw Ramsdale's interview. He literally said in his interview, we knew how Burnley were going to play. If you knew how they were going to play, why would we cross 33 like that is what is so frustrating for me. Our own keeper is saying that we knew the game plan, we knew what they were going to do, yet our tactics was completely ridiculous to try and beat Burnley with headers when, as you said, we don't even have anyone who could score a header apart from our defenders from a set piece. So, I mean, that's frustrating, right? And Brandon, again, like, let's be real. We've tried this tactic before. This is not the first time. I'm reminiscing of this same crap over a year ago, where we were complaining that we keep crossing to no one with Aubameyang in the middle who can't win headers. So why are we doing the same old crap again and again? Why didn't he change his tactics? Why didn't he play 3 at the back? I disagree with you. I don't think Smith Rowe was the best player. I actually was thinking I wanted to take him off. I don't think he was bad, but I don't know. Since he's been out of the team, he hasn't had the same mojo for me, to be honest. I would have taken him off or Lacazette off for me. I agree, and Ketja shouldn't have been the one that come on. You have Omari Hutchinson, you have Micah Beerith, you have these young kids who would have been so hungry to come on and prove themselves. And let's not forget, we have Balogun, who we loaned out when we need a striker. For me, Martinelli, 100%, he was the guy. I mean, he was just toying with them, but he had no support, and he's always 3v1. What do you expect this kid to do 3v1 all game, man? Like, it's just impossible. You had to move in striker. You had to take off Lacazette because you can't play 70, 80 minutes every single game. Hold up. As I said, I mean, yeah, he's not that player anymore. He's like a 5.5, 6 out of 10 player for me, and we need an 8 out of 10 player. So for me, that was just so disappointing, so slow. I mean, you could see even Holding, Ben White, Gabriel, way too slow in possession. We were like taking forever, and Burnley were so well organized. Of course, they were just gonna like low block, and by the time we figured out what the hell we're gonna do with the ball, they're in position, and we're never gonna move them out of position. But again, this is not a new issue. We've seen this so many times. That's what I told you. I was watching the game with my dad, and like in the 40th minute, I already could call that we were not going to score. It was so obvious, unless it was a set piece or if Lacazette maybe got a penalty. I mean, or Saka. That was really what I was hoping for. At a point, I was so desperate. I was like, just get in the box and just try to get a foul, try to play smart and pull the fouls so we get a penalty. That's the only way I could see us winning the game. And honestly, for me, Odegaard, man, overrated, bro. Overrated. I didn't want him from the start. Look, he's not a bad player. He can be a really good player, but he's not the player that we need right now. We needed someone that was experienced, that could hit the ground running. Like, yes, he scored a couple of goals. Yes, he's made a couple of assists, but he slows the game down. He takes way too many touches for me. I mean, I don't understand why he takes so many touches. And by the time, again, we figure stuff out, you're playing in the Premier League, bro. These teams are drilled, especially the teams at the bottom of the league. We know they're drilled because they defend for their lives. That's the only way they survive in the league, is by defending. So this is what bread and butter for them. And again, 100%, Arteta should have made a substitution before the 77th minute. What are we waiting for? Regardless if we had options or not, you don't wait till the 77th minute to make a substitution. And again, it's not only this game. In the past few games, I've been frustrated with his substitutions because he hasn't changed it fast enough. And that's just on experience, right? And he keeps making these mistakes. And for me, honestly, we're gonna screw up again. It's gonna happen again. We're gonna drop points. We know it. We know how this book. We've read this book 1,000 times. We know how it ends. We're gonna end up messing up. People are saying, "Oh, if we beat Spurs, then it's gonna make up for it." I mean, like, it's just absolute crap. It's just false positivity. And I want to be positive, but I'm also real. I've watched hundreds of thousands of minutes of Arsenal playing. I know how it goes. If we don't sign anyone, we're not going to create again for the rest of the season. We're not going to be able to score, and we're going to finish 7th or 8th. And then they're going to say, "Oh no, Arteta didn't have all his team. Oh no, injuries. Oh no, COVID. Give him another season. Give him one more transfer window." Dude, even if he makes top 4, he's not going to take us to competing for the Premier League. So, I mean, I know it's harsh, but like, what are we waiting for to pull the plug? Like, we know already that even if he does get us top 4, like, he's not going to take us any further. So why don't we just get rid of him and get a guy who's going to get us top 4, but it could also take us to the next level once he gets us to the top 4. Arteta might get us to the top 4, and then that's it. He's not going to take us any further than that. So, I mean, the fact that we're even talking about a 2-year contract extension, bro, I lost my head, dude. How are you talking about a 2-year contract extension in January? This guy hasn't done anything, dude. He hasn't done anything. We had like a run of 10 games, and that was it. And this guy's already gonna get a new contract. Again, the frustration is we haven't learned our lesson. Like, why are we even talking about a contract extension when he hasn't even met the expectations? Okay, if we're going to say use it as incentive and say, okay, sit on the table, Arteta, we're thinking about giving you a 2-year contract extension. If you remember at the beginning of the season, we agreed that these were the expectations that we set out for you. If you achieve these, we'll happily put this contract in front of you. That's how it should be. I'm 25. I don't run Arsenal, and I can say this, and I'm pretty sure other people can. So, I mean, like, what are these guys thinking, man? Absolutely shambolic. And this is frustrating because, like, dude, I'm turning 26 next month. Like, I've waited so long to see my team win the Champions League, win the Premier League, and, like, I don't know how much longer I can keep going with the same cycle. You know what I mean? At a certain point during the game, I was just mostly on Twitter. Like, yeah, the game was on, but like, I had given up. I knew we weren't going to score. It sucked.
Exactly that, mate. I turned it off on 80 minutes because I knew the moment that he brought on Eddie Nketiah, it's not going to happen anymore. It's just not. And look, I've got 2 more questions. 2 more questions before we end the stream. First of all, right, let me...
Sentiments.
Something has got... oh, no, this is the wrong one. Sorry. Sentiment says...
Pepe hater.
Pepe hater. Are you not a Pepe hater, are you?
I am. It's funny because yesterday I tweeted saying it'd actually be nice to have Pepe right now because he'd bring a different dimension. And that's how, again, desperate I am, to the point where I'm actually saying, like, where's Pepe? Because we're bringing on Nketiah. For me, Pepe is not the answer. Yes, he's definitely, improves our team right now because we're so bad. But he's not the world-class player that's going to take us to a Champions League or a Premier League or even compete for a Premier League. For me, he's too inconsistent. I mean, great, he's doing really well in the African Cup of Nations, but dude, that's expected, bro. It's the freaking African Cup of Nations, man. The quality of the AFCON is low. Like, I live in South Africa. Trust me, I know African football is a joke. I don't even watch the local league here because it's just a plain joke. Some guy's dribbling and the ref gives him a yellow card just because he's like showboating. I mean, it's an absolute joke, right? So it's expected that Pepe is supposed to do well and score goals. Like, I'm not like, you know what I mean? I'm not, I was gonna say a word that I shouldn't say, but like, yeah, I'm not milking it over him. Like, it's expected, and trust me, when he comes back, like, it's gonna be back to the usual stuff. He's gonna dribble himself. He can't cross. I mean, he's not physical enough. Bro, I think Martinelli's a better player. I think Saka's a better player, honestly. And even this Adama Traore going to Tottenham for 20 million, bro, honestly, I would have rather taken that than Pepe, because they're probably going to give you the same output. And at least he can, at least he has physicality and he can make things happen, right? I don't know. Might be Pepe hating, but I had high expectations. As I told you, we've had this conversation before. When you're a stingy club like Arsenal and you don't spend money for so many years, and then you go and spend 72 million on a player and you break your transfer record, you're expecting that guy to be a Kevin De Bruyne or something special. And Pepe was definitely not something special. Of course, raw talent, absolutely. I mean, he can nutmeg you, he can do all these things, but when it comes down to it, that's some 5v5, indoor stuff. It's not 11v11 outdoor Premier League material for me.
Yeah, I agree with some of your points. I do think there's one major thing staring us all in the face that we're not pointing out with as to regards why Pepe performs so badly. I think Pepe gets doubled upon an awful lot, and I think you see it when he moved over to the left-hand side. He played a lot better, and that's because he had the overlapping fullback. I think Pepe definitely craves an overlapping fullback. And look, it's not a great thing going forward because Tomiyasu doesn't overlap. So Pepe ain't getting into this team anytime soon. And I think if anything,
Brandon,
we're probably going to try and recoup a little bit of money from
look
him.
at Martinelli. Let's just take a pause. Look at Martinelli against Liverpool and against Burnley. 3v1s, even 4v1s, and he still holds on to the ball. They still can't get the ball from him. Have you ever seen Pepe do that? He runs straight out of play, or he just loses possession. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, I agree with you. Okay, cool. It'd be nicer if he had an overlapping fullback. But I mean, Martinelli doesn't, Saka doesn't, and they lose the ball way less than him, and they beat their player and can actually make a decent cross most of the time. So you see where I'm coming from? Like, I don't see that from Pepe. That's my frustration.
No,
and he's
but
like,
then I would argue that they have less output than Nicola Pepe. I mean, a lot of fans. I'm not getting on, but a lot of fans they forget that Nicola Pepe. He was our top goal scorer last season, and he was our top assist creator as well. So I don't know.
You know what? I get that point as well. I think his output sometimes even I underrate it and I don't appreciate it as much. I think on the eye, he just doesn't look good, right? And I watch games. I don't look much about statistics and I don't give a crap. Xhaka has like the best statistics for like passing accuracy. Like, doesn't mean shit. He's still a garbage player. So for me, when I look at the eye tests, he just doesn't pass it for me. And that's a frustration. But yeah, I totally, like, when you talk about output, like, you have to give him credit. He does have the output. So it's a tough one with him. I just wish we spent the money better,
Yeah, I agree
Someone who
with you.
starts, like 72 million, he doesn't even start every game for Arsenal. I mean, I don't know any other team that spends 72 million and that player doesn't start for them.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, mate. I do totally agree. Just a quick answer to this one here. How we're anywhere near the top four is beyond me. We've had about 2 decent games all season. That yesterday is a sign of our luck running out and us falling away. Let's sack Arteta before that happens. I agree with you on that one. And the only reason we are anywhere near top four, if we're being completely honest, is because of how poor Manchester United and Tottenham have been this season. That is the only reason we are anywhere near it. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. But I also do think we had, like, sometimes you just, like, you have the momentum and, like, we got the momentum with a new team. Think about it. We had pretty much a brand new team, and like it's just a freshness. So we had this like boost of energy from everyone, the whole club, because it was something new to back, where you didn't have these Mustafis and Socrates, and I mean, we still had Xhaka, unfortunately, but you know what I mean. Even Leno was making the most errors leading to goal for a keeper. I mean, so we took all this and we had something new to be passionate about and back, and I think, yeah, that's pretty much over. The honeymoon is over, right? And we're back to like realization of like, we're actually still an average team. We're still like 5-6 like incredible world-class players away from even competing for top four. Not even competing for the league, just competing for top four. Because think about it, look at our bench. I mean, we still need to redo our entire bench. And yeah, so for me, I agree with that as well.
Before I ask my final two questions and we wrap the video up,
Sounds good.
just real quickly, Aaron Ramsdale, been exceptional for Arsenal this season. Couple of weeks, I have noticed something about him, and that is he's starting to flap.
Dropping more balls.
He's
Yeah.
starting to flap at crosses. He's starting to flap at things and find himself in no man's land. Do you worry about Ramsdale and the potential
I
that he could?
wouldn't. Yeah, look, I wouldn't. Actually, yeah, it is worry. Not the most worry, because there's definitely other players that are worse than him. But I think he's getting a bit too cocky for my liking. Sometimes he's taking way too many risks with the passing and the touches when he's getting closed down. Especially now that teams know that he's comfortable on the ball or whatever. I mean, as a striker or attacking player myself, I know my coach would tell me, just keep going. He's gonna make a mistake. He's gonna make a mistake, and that is kind of what I feel as a fan when I'm watching him. Agreed. Yesterday with the corner, he flapped at it. It hit one of our players, and then I don't remember who it was. I think it was actually Holding. He cleared it away. So there's a mistake that is coming. I think that he had a lot of confidence. Again, like this freshness, newfound confidence, new team, whatever, like new signing. He wanted to prove himself. He had that boost, and I think now he's starting to get a bit more comfortable. It's like when you have in a new relationship, right? You want to look as best as you can, and then once you start getting comfortable in the relationship, your true colors start to show, right? And I'm not saying that he's a bad player or whatever. I always called it from the beginning. I was one of those fans that said we're signing him because of his distribution, and I think that he was going to be better than Leno, right? So I still think he will be better, but I can foresee some mistakes for sure are coming, especially if, as I said, the momentum of the team is in a downward spiral. That's going to go with the keeper as well. More pressure. He's not going to know what to do. We don't want to go long because no one can hold it. We don't want to go short because we're getting pressured too much and we're going to lose it and make a mistake in the back and then score an easy goal. And all that, as things start getting worse and worse and we keep dropping points, Tottenham, Man U going to start winning more because I think they're getting more comfortable. I always said it, Conte is a great manager. Spurs have good players. They're going to do okay. I mean, they're also a roller coaster, but I think they have more solidity than we do, to be honest. And they have a better squad in terms of squad depth than we do. So, yeah, I mean, I think as soon as that, we're right here on the mount of the roller coaster, as soon as it dips, oh man, dude, we're finished, man. The whole fan base is gonna go into meltdown, and it's so funny how many meltdowns we've had, right? But I think every meltdown is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's gonna be a stage where it's just it's gonna go crazy and it's gonna be really ugly. And Arteta's gonna have to leave. Kroenke, pressure on the Kroenke is gonna happen again. Where has this guy been? Where have the Kroenkes been since the Super League debacle? I mean, they said they were gonna communicate with the fans more often. We make a couple of signings, we start doing well, and look, bro, we haven't heard from him. And then we'll start losing points and say, oh, Edu, it's the Kroenkes. They should have fired Arteta long ago. They should have fired Edu. And then the same cycle, bro. The same cycle over and over again. It's hilarious. I can't help but laugh because otherwise I'll cry.
Yeah, I agree. It is the same cycle over and over. And I'm fully strapped in for it to be the same cycle again next season and the season after and the season after. It's just going to be continuous, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Signed up for misery, dude. Signed up for misery for the rest of my life in terms of supporting Arsenal.
Hopefully not for the rest of our lives. We're still young yet. We're still young.
But dude, I mean, look, as I said, it's been 20 plus years. I've never seen us win a league title, and there's more money being pumped into the game. There's more teams that are becoming more competitive. Look at Newcastle, look at Wolves, look at West Ham, and we keep falling behind. So how am I supposed to have any confidence that in the next 5 years, 10 years, that we're gonna be able to compete with all these other teams are catching up to us already, and they're gonna have the money to spend, and they're gonna be able to pull the same players that we can, right? It's a scary thought.
Yeah, definitely. Another player that I wanted to talk about, seeing it yourself, I controversially spoke about Tomiyasu and my feelings towards Tomiyasu. I have since changed my stance with Tomiyasu, though. I, of course, called him the Japanese Hector Bellerin. I now have changed that and I think he's the Japanese Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, before I get your thoughts on it, African Guna, and I have already seen that to say as well on Twitter to me, and that's, you know, fair enough.
And I was
But
respectful. I was respectful
oh
compared
yeah,
to
you was respectful. You was,
people.
mate. You was, and that's the difference. You know, you get a lot of these others
Yeah,
who
of
can't
course,
handle
of
an
course.
opinion, and you know, I went
Yeah,
viral with that, believe it or not, as well. So
yeah. No,
anyway,
no, I know.
the reason why I said that is because, and I got the wrong comparison with Hector Bellerin, but now I'm saying a Japanese Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I don't think Tomiyasu's that great. I've watched him very closely this season, and people think that I haven't, but I have. Really attack. I see a guy who, you know, he wins headers. He's very good in the air, very good with headed clearances, but he's lacking in the 1v1 department. Now, the reason I say that is because I can go back to a fair few games this season and look at where the goals that we've conceded have come from, which side. Crystal Palace, the first goal in the 2-2 draw will come down
Yeah,
Tomiyasu's side. You know, he got beaten down his side. Uh, if actually, no, that wasn't the first goal. That was the second goal. He got beaten down his side. The first goal, Tomiyasu gave Thomas Partey an absolute hospital ball where he had 3 Crystal Palace players surrounded by him,
yeah, and then he
and
lost
he
it.
was almost the last man. And it was a hospital ball to give him. And, you know, he did that. Partey lost the ball and Crystal Palace
Yeah,
scored. Then you've got the Brighton game, the 0-0. He got absolutely ripped by Cucurella all game. A guy he'd really.
Kukuraya has been like superb this season. Like he's on top form. So have to be fair as well. Like I agree with you, but that kid is playing like at the best he's ever played in his life. So yeah, no, but
Okay.
I hear you. I hear you.
And then he's been ripped twice by Diego Jota against
Yeah,
Liverpool, and then
yeah.
against Mane as well, in
Yeah, but
the
dude,
4-0
again, like
defeat.
who doesn't get ripped by Mane? Who doesn't get
Yeah,
ripped
no,
by
no, I
Salah?
agree. But then at the same time, I look at the first goal in the 4-0 defeat, and Tomiyasu's supposed to be this, you know, great header of the ball, great aerial clip. He was the one who lost his man for us to concede the first goal. He was nowhere to be seen. He was caught well out of position on the
Yeah.
fourth goal as well. And I look at it and I think between him and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, they have very similar attributes. Neither of them attack, really.
No, one
Aaron,
Bisaka attacks. He's better at attacking than
yeah,
defending
but
for
he's not
me.
very
He's a good defender.
good. Yeah. And then Aaron Wan-Bissaka, very good at 1v head of the ball to save a life. Then you've got Tomiyasu, who's the opposite end of the spectrum, where he's absolutely excellent when it comes to heading clearances, stuff like dispossessing the ball from players. But 1v1 situations, not so great. So I look at him and I look at Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I don't really see that much of a difference. I really don't.
No, cool. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. For me, it's completely the opposite, man. I mean, I first want to start by saying when he came, like the expectation wasn't for him to be that great. I had no idea who he was. The price tag that we paid, I mean, I think he's been over exceeding, you know, for a very long time. I think he's very consistent. I disagree with you. I think he's one of the best 1v1 defenders I've ever seen, you know, play in the last whatever for Arsenal. Like, and I'm gonna break it down. I'm not just gonna say it, right? Like, I'm gonna try and give you examples. So first of all, I want to say I agree with you. Like, he's been spun by some players very rarely, but it does happen. But Brandon, you can't expect this guy every single game, you know what I mean, to be at the top level. Let's also remember it's his first season in the Premier League, right? And also he doesn't get that much help from Saka. Let's be real. We know in the Prem, like, dude, the winger has to help. It's like one hardest positions to play is winger because you got to do all that running. You got to be able to help your fullback, and you got to be able to go and attack, right? So for me, he doesn't get any help on the attacking front. I don't think that's him. I think that's tactically, because think about it. And I was actually, you know, before going to sleep a couple of days ago, I was thinking about this. remember when we used to play with Wenger and all our players used to bombard forward and then we'd be left for dead in the back? It would be like 3v1. It would be guaranteed goal. Like we get destroyed. I think that's the difference. And with Arteta's system, he doesn't want both fullbacks to go. Tomiyasu is always the one that stays back. That is his job, and that is one of the reasons that we signed him, is because he actually doesn't go forward. He wants to stay back, and he goes into that midfield position when Saka goes forward. At least that is what I've been seeing over the last few weeks.
My argument to that, though, African Gooner, would be you can't, if you continuously only have one fullback and it's only the one side attacking, then you're not really switching up your game. So, yeah,
I agree.
I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with you. So, I would say, yeah, okay, fair point. I'll take that. Maybe it is Arteta's tactics.
It is Arteta, 100%. It's the tactics.
Then Arteta is just, he's doing himself out really, because we're getting found out. If it was me, Tomiyasu should make, movements forward as well as Tierney, and then Thomas Partey or Granit Xhaka or whoever is playing in the midfield should be covering that position, not Tomiyasu sticks back and then you have Tierney bombing forward all game and then Saka's not getting the help, and it's so one-dimensional. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's a rotational thing, right? We see it all the time. Like the players are rotating between positions because we get pulled out sometimes, and then it's just the way we're set up. I agree with you. I think it's weird, and I mean it doesn't make any sense. But I think again we're missing a player. We're missing something in this puzzle that exploits these areas where Tomiyasu or Tierney is getting beat. Let's be real. Bellerin was getting beat every game. Almost every goal was coming from his side. That doesn't happen with Tomiyasu as much. It's more balanced. We don't get attacked on the right as much. Every time we were getting attacked on the right, and we play on the left, only play on the left. Now I think we're more balanced. We play a little bit more on both sides. And also, let's remember Tomiyasu. I mean, I don't know if you remember that shot, that crazy shot he had. He almost scored in his first few games. I mean, he can be attacking. He's definitely fast. He's definitely strong. He wins all his headers. He's like one of the most consistent players. Like I trust him. You know what I mean? He'd be one of the first guys on the team sheet for me. And I'm not saying he's the best. I'm just saying with what we have, he is one of the best defenders we have. He's just so consistent. But I agree with you. He can make mistakes. Let's remember it's his first year, and let's remember, I mean, he cost us 15 million, dude. He was never supposed to be this crazy. You know what I mean? He's way better than I ever expected. So I respect that. And I think he's Japanese, and therefore his culture is all about professionalism. Dude, he got kicked in the face with a stud, and this guy didn't even react, and he carried on. And also in the game that he played against Liverpool, a bit unfair, bro. He wasn't even supposed to play. He wasn't even fit. He didn't even have any training sessions. He took one for the team, and he was like, look, there's no right back. Cedric out, Chambers out. Coach, put me in. I'll play. I'll try my best. And he got killed. But Jota is an amazing player, incredible. Imagine we signed him from Wolves. That's the striker we needed to sign instead of Liverpool, who had Mane, Salah, and Firmino. I mean, that was just a bonus for them. And then we're out here struggling to find a striker. I mean, so yeah, I have to say Jota is going to kill a lot of players. And yeah, he wasn't fit. Again, I'm not making excuses for him. I'm trying to be as balanced. You know what I mean? I feel like he's a professional. He gives 100% for Arsenal. And I haven't seen that from a long time, from a lot of players. I would say Martinelli, Tierney, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, maybe Odegaard. They're players that give 100%, and I have to respect it, right? And I think he's quality as well. I don't know if that helps change your mind. And again, I also acknowledge your points that he has gotten beaten. But again, if you look at the last, how many games did he play? 21 games. How many times has he really been beaten in 21 games, right? And not that often for me. I think the percentage is very low, dude. And also when Jota beat him, that's one of the first times I've seen him get beat one-on-one. And when he gets beat one-on-one, the opposition actually scores, which is ironic. So that's how I noticed it, right? Because I knew as soon as Jota beat him, I was like, actually, shit, we're in trouble. They're going to score. So, and that's how consistent he's been, because I haven't felt that often. Whereas with Bellerin, dude, oh my God, you know how it was. It's every other minute this guy was getting rinsed.
Yeah. I'll admit, at the time of saying about the whole Hecky B thing, I didn't know that Tomiyasu wasn't 100% fit. I didn't know he hadn't trained. Of course, I knew he was coming back from injury, but I didn't know he was 100% fit. But that's why I sort of changed my stance. And that's why I sort of said, I do think he's very similar to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I don't think he is that great, but, I take your points as well. It is his
What
first
would you
season.
say out of 10? What would you give him out of 10? For me, 7 out of 10 player. Consistent 7 out of 10, dude. If you look at all the player ratings from, I guess, if you like grouped all the Arsenal fans and put Tomiyasu's ratings and average it over all the games, I think he'd be a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, 6, 7, 6 or 7, 6 or 7.
And
That's
Bellerin was like a 3 out of 10. And Wan-Bissaka, I mean, look, I don't watch all United games, but I know he also can get spun. And I mean, he's not, super consistent, but he was always better than Bellerin. I mean, I don't know who's better between Tomiyasu and Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka hasn't even played for a while. I don't know if he's injured, or I think he's injured, right? But for me, dude, Tomiyasu, top 5 right backs in the Prem. I mean, I can't really say much more. Total professional for me. Wears the badge on his sleeve. He's a warrior. I would always choose him to be on my team because I know he will do his best. And yeah, sometimes he's going to get beat. Sometimes he's going to make a mistake, but that's part of it. He's young, first season. And think about it, in 3 years from now. That's what I was telling you. You're like, wait a season, dude, in 2 seasons from now, trust me, we're going to have this conversation again. You might not completely change your mind, but you'll say, actually, you know what? Respect to Tomiyasu. Like, he's done a good job compared to what we've had in the past 10 years.
Okay. Final 2 questions now that we've had that little, catch up and talk about the whole Tommy situation. Can we still make the top 4?
No.
Straight up.
No. Straight up, man. Come on. Like, okay. Again, like, I'm not one of those, like, afraid to flip-flop. Like, it's a game-by-game basis. When Arteta's doing well, I'll say Arteta's doing well because I'm happy. I can see progression. When we're not doing well, I'm going to call it how it is. We're not doing well. I'm seeing the same issues. And we've highlighted all those issues that is not just from Burnley, not just from, like, this season. This is stuff that has been happening for, like, 3 years, from Emery to Freddie to Arteta for me, right? And like 2 weeks ago, as I was saying, I was confident, dude. Like, I watched the Liverpool game with one of my friends, and I got to his place, and I was talking shit for like the first time in so long because I was so confident. I saw Odegaard back in the team. I saw Tomiyasu back in the team. I was like, dude, you're gonna get rinsed. And then, dude, it was not a fun game to watch with him, And so for me, I mean, again, it's this huge like seesaw, bro. It's a seesaw. And the squad depth, man, we're not. Xhaka is going to continue playing. He's going to continue effing up. He's going to get another red card. Whether we're like one injury away from Thomas Partey or whatever, just completely play with Lokonga and El Neni, which is like, dude, relegation midfield. Not Lokonga, but I mean El Neni, right? I mean, just not good enough. And I think we're going to continue like suffering from creating chances. I mean, even if we sign this Arthur guy, bro, who is this? I mean, like he's like a 5 or 6 out of 10 player. He's not like an 8 or 9 out of 10 player that's going to come in and transform our midfield. That's why I keep saying Frank Kessie, Frankie de Jong, dude. If we have money for Vlahovic, why aren't we going to sign these guys? What are we waiting for until the summer, dude? Like, honestly, and how I want Xhaka at this team at any cost, bro. So anyone we sign needs to start over Xhaka for me. I think he should be fined for getting all those red cards. Like, there's no way that this guy is not being fined or not getting some sort of punishment for costing the team like this. I mean, it's unbelievable. Aubameyang gets exiled for being late and maybe being rude, but this guy's costing us points, and therefore he's costing the club money, because points equals money. Where we finish in the table, that correlates with a certain sum of money that we get, even if it's 5th, 6th, whatever it is. The higher we finish, the more money we get. I mean, so for me, yeah, bro, like, same old story. You know how it is. We'll go on another run. We will have games, maybe against Spurs, maybe against another top team, against Leicester or whatever. It's like, or West Ham, and we put a great performance. It's like, we're back. You see, I told you, we're back. And then the next game, we play a shitty ass team that hasn't won in like 2 months, and then they and they just, like, yeah, I wouldn't say they play us out the park, but they defend and we can't score and we continue dropping points, or they they score and they beat us when they shouldn't beat us because we're poor. And dude, the same thing. Like, same old story, bro. Same old story.
Yeah, of
If
course,
we
of course.
signed Vlahovic and we signed a proper midfield, even if we signed Arthur and we signed Vlahovic, I could have said, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll make top 4, like barely we'll make it because we have a goal scorer and we'll start scoring goals and whatever. But like, dude, we have no squad. Like, who's on our bench, dude? Even when Pepe comes back, what, you think Arteta's gonna put his ego away and start playing Pepe again? Like, you know what I mean? And what, going to Dubai is magically gonna transform our players? Like,
Well, we see what Dubai did last time under Emery, didn't we? You know,
yeah.
we went to Dubai under Emery, and then we capitulated, and he got sacked. So, fingers crossed.
What do you
Fingers
think? Do you
crossed.
think we can, I think even if we might miss it slightly, whatever the case is, we'll miss it. If it's by a lot or by a small margin, whatever it is, it's classic Arsenal. 1 point, last game of the season, we're winning. We just have to, we just have to play the game out and make sure we don't concede and we win 1-0 in the last minute. Bang! Stupid mistake, goal. We are not in top 4. Some stupid shit like that. You can see, as you said, we watched this team for so many years. You just know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, mate. I don't think we're making top 4, and that is purely and simply down to, well,
I do.
2 things for me. We have a squad of players that are so young, they're so inconsistent as well, and that's what happens when you have a squad of players that are so young. You will get inconsistencies. I think Arteta's not good enough to get us there, number one, as well. And I also think that we have too many liabilities within the squad. Granit Xhaka's one, Lacazette's another. Liability in terms of goal scoring. And
But
I
you know
just
what?
think,
The difference is with Lacazette, like, he tries, right? So even though he's not good enough, I know he tries. So it's like hard to like hate him or blame him because like it's not him. It's just he's just not good enough, and it's the coach and manager who keeps playing him, and it's Edu and them who are not replacing and getting a striker. So it's a tough one. But whereas with Xhaka, it's self-inflicted in over 5 years. I mean, 19 apologies, dude. Like, what player have you seen even apologize like 5 times? And again, I'm not talking about in our lifetime. I'm talking about in the history of the game. Try and find me one player that's ever apologized 19 times. You'll never be able to find it.
yeah, 100%. And final question of the day before we all go. African Guna, it has been a while. We've been getting your thoughts on Arsenal. We've been getting your thoughts on everything. But my
literally everything.
big question is, of course, after the game yesterday, Mikel Arteta out was trending on Twitter. So, African Guna, are you Arteta in or are you Arteta out?
Look, I want him to do well. He's just not good enough. I don't believe this nonsense about Man City wanting him. That's bullcrap. I don't like. Why the hell would they want him? First of all. Second of all, any manager that goes to City, it runs itself. It coaches itself. It doesn't even really matter who the coach is. So even if he did go there, it's not like it's because of him that they're doing well. Like, they are a ready-made team. They play themselves. You don't even need a coach. You just put them on the field and they'll win. Literally, even their B team. So for me, it has to be Arteta out solely for the reason that if I look at like longer term, as I said to you, he's never going to take us to a league title. He's never going to take us to a Champions League final. For me, let alone, I mean, yeah, like Europa League final. So yeah, dude, like, why are we waiting to pull the plug? Like, again, it's not because I hate him or whatever. It's because he's made so many bad small decisions. I mean, a few weeks ago, he brought on Kolasinac to score a goal, bro. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, how, bro? How does any like sensible person, like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, this guy is coaching Arsenal and he's playing Kolasinac. Like, you don't even see this in like Sunday League. And like, again, we're not like experts. We're not like top players playing in like, but we can see clearly, like, it's so obvious. And then you end up selling the guy or getting rid of the guy. We don't even sell him. We don't get any money for him again. I mean, so these decisions, right? These small decisions, as I told you, like they're scarring, right? You can't forget these types of decisions because they cost us. And for
Just
me, that's why I want Arteta out, because I know that regardless if you go on another run, he's gonna continue making these small bad decisions because he's not experienced enough. He doesn't have the quality. Whether that's his fault or not, whatever, that's not my problem. You know, it's he's the manager. He's got to figure it out. Results is the name of the game, Brandon. You know what I mean? This is a ruthless game. It's the Premier League. It's billions of pounds in the game. Like, this is not a joke, right? If you don't deliver, out the door, bro. Next. Thank you. Next, as Ariana Grande would say.
There you go. There you have it. African Gooner says thank you next, just like Ariana Grande. There we go. Just on a side note, just before we end the video as well, isn't it ironic the only team in the Premier League that could be Arsenal can bring out a kit in honor of fighting against knife crime with the slogan "No more red," and then for the next 3 games receive red cards? Isn't that ironic? And on that bombshell, we're going to end this video. African Gooner, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. It's been great catching up with you. Guys, listen, if you don't follow African Gooner on Twitter, make sure you go and do that. Is there anywhere else these guys can find you?
Yeah, you can find me sometimes on the Arsenal Lounge. I'm on there talking about transfers with Edu. He's always keeping us up to date on what he knows. But no, otherwise you'll find me on Twitter. Oh, and also 101 on Arsenal. I'm on there as well.
And on here, hopefully, a few more.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Definitely. So there we go. And guys, make sure, if you haven't already, you are slapping them likes up and subscribing to the channel as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. And last but not least, Arteta out.